today's meeting of the Budget Advisory Committee to order. We have a roll call, please.
Sure. Chair Bergman.
Here.
Vice Chair Hall.
Here.
Ms. Hales.
Here.
Ms. McKinney.
Here.
And Mr. Smarkus is absent today.
Okay, we'll go into new business. Item number 1. I think that's you, Ron.
Yes. Well, I've got both item 1 and 2 are on the same PowerPoint. Sorry for the confusion with it. I just thought I'd make it easier that way, but. Yeah, we're trying to give you an update on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget, where we are on that and the schedule. And then last month, you asked about getting an update on the financials for the current year, fiscal year 2025. I've got it through the end of May. And I don't have 40 slides. I gave direction to keep it short, so, which is okay. I'm not offended. I'm joking. The budget as it sits right now, it's still a work in progress. It's increasing $1,733,227 over the one you received in the middle of May. The main increases, or the increases for that, the 1.7 million, is the pay study and position adjustments that are still tentative that are in the budget now, 1.1 million. 45,000 for department team building. Additional CRA master plan capital, 40,182. Economic development for the sponge docks, 100,000. Pay for performance, 175,000. This is the pay for performance the city manager wants to institute on everybody's anniversary. You'll get evaluated and get a pay increase based on a scale, but it's still a work in progress on that.
Ron, is it a pay increase or is it a bonus?
It's a pay increase based on your performance. I think maybe when I started 30 some years ago, our pay, I think, was like that. You got your pay increases on your anniversary. And then at some point we went to just October 1st for your pay increases.
So this will be in addition to the annual October 1st?
Yes, the October 1st one is like a cost of living increase. And the pay study, it's a minimum 3% with the pay study currently, and some pay adjustments. The balance of 264,000, that is basically a fund balance reserve or for any projects that come up after I'll get into we got the property taxes in there, but there was some extra money in the budget, so I just stuck it in it's called my non-operating line item in general fund non-departmental.
Could you go back, Ron, just a couple questions? So
Yeah.
the 1.1, right, I'm just curious, because the last time I don't think the pay study was back yet. Was there a lot of, like, deltas, or was there a lot of suggestions there in terms of where the pay was or what they're suggesting, or was it pretty in line?
Well, they
Is
got
pay in line with, or like, what was the findings of the pay study, I guess?
Well, and I guess again, it really, I don't know if it's sort of highlight. We weren't too far off. I don't know if with the previous city manager, we were trying to increase the lower salary. So, I mean, compared to other cities' pay studies they've had done, this one came to about overall for all funds about 5.35%. So we usually fund 5% across the board for pay increases. So it came to about 5.35, 5.4 with benefits. And the general fund's about 5.2% is what it came to.
And not a significant amount of adjustments, like?
There's some adjustments for some of the positions.
Okay, but not many.
Yeah, some are some larger adjustments, based on the study and comparing to other cities, but most of them, like say the minimum's a 3% for the cost of living.
Okay, cool. And then,
So everybody would get 3%.
Minimum 3%.
But then based on the pay study, they might get more depending on what their position.
Correct. Yeah, the pay study, I think they're still working out how that's going to work.
There was some factors in the pay study that they looked at. They looked at compression, market, and where you work, because the ranges all moved in this pay study. So if you were below the pay range, the new pay range, they had to get you up to the minimum.
Right.
And they looked at time and position, compressions, things like that. So there was a bunch of factors with different people. So some people got bigger raises based on where they were. Some were okay, so we were still giving them a minimum of 3%. So it's all around, but like Ron said, it was around 5%, a little over 5% overall, which we've been doing already every year to year, so.
Okay, so no major news from that pay study, basically.
It showed, I believe, that the city was about 6% below market.
Oh, okay.
So we were better than we actually thought we were going to be, so.
Okay.
So going forward, I mean, this is, get out your crystal ball in the future. These October ones then I would think are just going to become cost of living adjustments and the pay for performance will be pay study or.
Correct. It could be, it'd just be the 3% cost of a living across the board for everybody.
Spread that difference between the COLA and a pay instead of all hitting one time.
Sure.
At the beginning of the year, that part will be spread now.
Correct.
Based on anniversary date.
Yeah, and that's what the 175,000 is, a 3% increase. Say they got average is 3%, so we're trying to fund 3% for the pay for performance. So I go, 3% for the general fund is 350,000. I go, well, they're not, everybody's got different dates.
Right.
Mine's in August. So I'll have to wait a while.
Right?
So that's why I took half of that and then plugged in 175,000 for that. But like I say, it's still a work in progress there. I guess trying to explain the other ones that, city manager wanted some department team buildings, so we put 45,000 in there.
That's new, right?
Yes.
That seems like it would
And what,
be a value add.
what does that involve? Team building, or is this like
Well, I think that he
off-site
wants to
events, or?
have some funding for departments to be able to, just team building activities within your departments. The 40,000 for the CRA master plan, that is basically because the property tax increase, that was the increase there. So it's just that money's being shifted, that increase in the property tax, we budgeted 0% taxable value increase for the CRA. So that's the additional 40,000 going for the master plan. Economic development for sponge docks, there was a need that they wanted to put in something to help, maybe try to help the sponge docks industry and sort of maybe try to help revitalize it, is what I've understood. I think that's all those categories there.
I have one more question. I'm
Okay.
sorry, and maybe
No.
you're planning on answering it. The increase in the budget for the coming year is 1,733,000, right?
Well, that's the increase from the budget we provide, the first one you saw in May 15th.
Okay, and, but the increase in the increase of the income is only 601,000, so where are we getting the rest of that money?
Some of that is from, the different funds is some of that. And another part of the pay increase is coming from, we're using some money from what's called the perpetual exclusive easement. We've had some reserve money there, about 600,000. We're using that also in addition to the property tax increase. That's a good question. Thank you. The property tax, as you know, the city portion, it came in at 4.12%. That's a taxable value increase. We budgeted, to be on the safe side, 0. So it ended up being 4.12%. So that equates to $601,000 of property taxes for the general fund. The CRA, we also budgeted 0%, but it ended up being 3.16%. So the city portion of the city revenue is going up 23,322. The county also pays into the CRA, so their portion of the increase is 20,376.
But the CRA money is designated for certain, it can't be used for anything else but.
No, it's in its separate fund. And when it was created, there's certain allowable expenditures within there, yes, in that CRA area.
Mhm.
Let's see, going back to, I'm trying to show the 5 largest fund. And in the top left, you see the total city budget is 102,000 approved. Last year was 102 million. Last year was 86 million, 18% increase. The general fund is going up 4.3%, or 1.5 million. A lot of these didn't change too much. The water and sewer fund is going up to 6.7 million. Sanitation fund, 322,000. Penny fund, we're still working on the capital projects, but that was going down a little bit, but that'll be changing. CRA fund going up 2.4 million, stormwater fund 100,000, and the golf course fund 4.3 million. And then off to the side in that little light purple lavender color, you see the explanations for the increases. You know, with general fund being the police and fire union wage and pension increase, and also the pay study. Water and Sewers has some big capital expenditures for electrical, water well improvements, and water meter installations. They want to try to get more of the newer model meters installed throughout the city. Sanitation fund, that's a contract increase with waste management, 3%. And the penny fund is we're still, like I say, we're still working on the capital for the penny fund. The CRA fund is mostly the capital Orange Street, we're hearing about 1.1 million for the Orange Street reconstruction of that, and the CRA master plan. The increase in stormwater fund is that annual pipelining and utility truck. And then the golf course fund, the clubhouse for 4.2 million. It's under design right now. They're thinking the design should be done, I think, probably this fall. They'll go out for a bid, and then hopefully the construction starts maybe February, March of 2026.
You know, the penny fund decrease.
Pardon me?
You've got a decrease on the penny fund.
Yeah, that's just basically the projects that we've got allocated there, but I can tell you it's changing. With the city manager, we've been ongoing working on the CIP projects for the last couple months. We're going to meet with the board members individually again after, I don't know, Tuesday night, they approved to be able to go out for financing. They want to get a list of the projects that we're going to be financing. So that's still a work in progress. That's probably still the original CIP we had back in May.
Okay.
This is the revenues by category, total city. Taxes going up 725,000. That's mostly the property taxes. The other larger increase is intergovernmental, 2.2 million. That's mostly, we've got a $2 million grant for the electrical work in the water and sewer fund. Charges for services going up 1.5 million, almost 1.6 million. That is mostly charges for services are your charges for the water and sewer is categorized there. Water and sewer, stormwater and sanitation increases are all classified as charges for services. Interest earnings going down a little bit. Last year earning maybe 5.25%, 5.5%. Now we're seeing maybe we're down around 4.5% for rate of return on interest earnings. Miscellaneous going up 3 million, and the 3 million is the PFAS money. I forget what that stands for, but it's water and sewer related. It's that Tommy's being able to get with a settlement with that. He's using that to improve some water wells. And that's the revenues and charges for services, and the graph below showing that charges for services are already almost 40% of the total city budget. Going to the expenditures for the total city, personnel services going up 2.3 million. Capital outlay going up 11.8 million. And as you can see down below in the graph, the largest increase is in the personnel, which is a 38.5%, followed by operating and then capital. And then hitting the general fund, we've got the taxes going up at 601,000. That is with the 4.12%. I think nothing else really changed in the general fund besides the property taxes. And general fund expenditures, the biggest increase being the 1.8 million in the personnel services, mostly due to the police and fire union increases and pension contributions and the pay study. And as you can see, the personnel services are in the bottom graph are 74% of the general fund budget. And I thought I'd go into I guess this agenda item number 2.
Yep.
The finances at May 31st, revenues, general fund, ad valorem taxes up almost 1.2 million. Mostly due to the taxable value increase this year of 9.06%. And then we got permits and fees up 226,000, mostly due to the permit fees related to Anclote Harbors. The only category going down, well, one of them, is intergovernmental, and that's where we saw the sales taxes going down the first part of this year for the half cent and the revenue sharing, but we're starting to see that pick back up now. Charges for services, that's the increase in EMS fees and plan checking fees we're receiving, and some Anaclote Harbor fees. And then the interest earnings increase of $78,000 in the general fund. And then miscellaneous, we've got an increase, and that's due to library donations from the Friends of the Library. I was trying to, analyze the general fund, I'm trying to see what am I going to project the unassigned is going to be. It's sort of tough right now, but especially with the hurricanes, but I'm not, we left off at, we ended up in last year at 9.1 million. I'm hoping we don't see a big decrease with the hurricanes. If we get the FEMA money, I'm thinking we might still be hopefully able to hold still at the 9.1 million.
When do you expect to hear on that, the FEMA money?
We meet with them every week. We're really pushing. We're just saying, we got a consultant now, and I'm getting with him saying, we want to get this category B money as soon as possible. That's a lot of the general fund money with the overtime, police and fire and other departments. But he's saying, Ron, we should have something by September 30th, reimbursement for category B. Category A is out of the debris removal is out of the sanitation fund. We got initially 2.5 million in the expedited when we filed. We're looking for the other half of that they paid 50% of our original estimate of 5 million. Mm-hmm. So we got 2.5 million. So we're waiting on they're working on the other 2.5 million of the 5 million. But the thing is, I found out we still have another 2.7 million of invoices we haven't received yet. That's why I'm getting with our debris removal people saying, well, when are we going to get this? And they say, well, it's Tetra Tech, our debris monitor, which is good. They're checking all the work that Crowder Gulf did, our debris removal company, to make sure everything is going to be compliant with FEMA. So we've still got another 2.5 million of invoices out there to pay.
To pay or to submit to FEMA? To
pay and submit to FEMA. I haven't received the invoices yet. We received.
Yeah, they haven't even sent it to you yet.
We received the we received five. I'm sorry, I probably wasn't clear.
No, I'm not. I'm probably.
We received $5 million worth of invoices. We paid that right away, but we're gonna have another 2.7 million of invoices.
Okay.
So you're talking 7.7 million total of.
They're reimbursed 2.5, and they're talking to you about the rest, the other 2.5 in September. And the conversations are kind of moving along, right? You don't have any concern that they're not going to do it in September or any type of delay there?
We're meeting weekly with them. We're meeting with FEMA. We're meeting with our FEMA consultant weekly, just
good.
Trying to put. In fact, I called our consultant earlier this week. Said, Bruce, I'm getting pressure. I need to get this money. Fiscal year in September 30th. We need to. So that's
okay. Good.
So,
Ron, I'm sorry, I'm new, so I have a question.
No, that's okay.
So we paid that 5 million and we only been reimbursed for half of it so far. When we get the other, what did we pay that out of, like a reserve? And then the money we get reimbursed will go to repay the reserve, or what?
Yeah, well, we paid, all the debris removal comes out of the sanitation fund.
Okay.
So we paid for it out of there.
So they did without $5 million?
Correct. Yeah, but we've also got an interfund loan set up from another fund to bring the sanitation fund to a positive balance. I've talked with our auditors. They actually recommended just keep it negative, Ron. Just hopefully we get the FEMA reimbursement in time. If we do need to do the loan, we'll do that from the other fund. But they recommend just wait. Hopefully we get it by September. If not, if it's October, we can book it as a receivable with the offsetting revenue at September 30th, end of our fiscal year. Trying to remember. Okay, I didn't go over this slide yet. What was that? As you know, I always like to show the top 10 revenues. Of course, this current year, property taxes are going up compared to last year, 1.1 million. And here's where like the half-cent sales tax, the ones in sort of a brownish peachy color, is where the revenues from sales taxes have been down. The half-cent sales tax, 26,000, and the revenue sharing, 60,000. Most all the revenues are on budget. Like I say, the only one is like the half-cent sales tax, which I'm projecting might be short of budget, maybe about 50,000 this year. And the revenue sharing might be short, maybe about 75,000 this year. But otherwise, all the other line items of revenue in the general fund are, it looks like we're going to meet that or exceed some of them.
Why do you think the sales tax revenue is down?
Well, everything sort of, I think what was they had everybody after COVID, everybody was going out traveling, expending money, and it just sort of, it declined. It started about I think it was about a year and a half ago, we started seeing, we compare it, we watch every month from, say, June of this year to June of last year. And it was decreasing from the previous year. And I'm not sure if there's like a lot of people going out, I don't want to say over exuberance and spending money, but it sort of trailed back, started about a year and a half ago. But we started to see a pickup about 7-8 months ago. The expenditures in the general fund, personnel services, the largest amount was the 1.7 million, which is up 10.2%, but mostly due to salary and benefit increases and the overtime for the hurricanes. Operating up about 11.85% compared to the previous year, mostly due to the hurricanes. And then capital outlay, a decrease, mostly because in 2024, we purchased a high water vehicle and we bought a generator for the community center. Just wanted to show you the budget schedule coming up. June 17th, we had the public hearing on the budget. I've got a handout for that, what we went through. The first budget workshop with the board is going to be July 15th. The second one, July 29th. If there's a third one needed, it would be August 7th. And then the first public hearing on the budget would be September 3rd, and the second and final one on September 17th. And that's the end of agenda item number 2.
Okay, last meeting, we passed a motion regarding commission and mayor salary. I think it was stated for to be effective October 1st. When will that proposal be presented to the Board of Commissioners?
And talking to the city manager, we're going to start working on that with all the pay study stuff. And we're meeting individually with the commissioners, I think the first week or two of July, meeting with them on the pay study and meeting with them on the capital CIP project and talking with them then.
Okay.
And since we discussed that, somebody brought to my attention that our charter may say something about the current board can vote an increase, but it can't be effective until they cycle off the board or the next term or whatever. So I don't know if we need somebody to look into that. Could have just been hearsay, but that's what I heard on the street.
Oh, I'll check that out.
In the CIP that you're meeting with the commissioners, was that just covering the CIP or covering the financing of the CIP that we were talking about?
It's all the CIP projects.
Okay.
And then
Maybe
what
the finance.
and then what financing would be
Right,
used,
Yeah, the
what
different
project would
options.
be used for financing?
okay.
On the Anclote Harbor, once that construction's finished, do we have an estimate of how much that's going to add to our property tax? Is it a significant amount or?
I hesitate to say, but I can try to get you that number. I'm trying to remember, like, when the apartments down here, what's it called, Icara?
Area that are now 10X.
I'm trying to remember what that was and stuff.
Yeah.
I hate to say
It
if that was,
seemed
we
like
got,
a significant amount, but
if it ended up being like 150,000 a year property taxes or 200,000 in property taxes a year. In the first part of June, we sent out, with the help of planning department, the B survey. It's required that we do a budget public survey by June 30th. So we sent out the survey with the 2 questions. And as you can see, we have about 25 people responded.
yeah.
I can't read that.
Or 19 is what I saw when I was,
Yeah, 19,
is that less than last year's response rate?
it's about the same.
It's sad.
Same people.
Oh, same people. Oh, yeah, doesn't say.
Um, This is a breakdown of the geographical area, but I don't have that. I know the planning had that where the people resided, but I think the next slide sort of helps where the people lived in these subdivisions in Bay Shore Drive, Rolling Oaks, Harbor Oaks, Athens Street, Harbor Watch, Sunset Ridge, West Wind Village, West Wind, Sunset Hills, and Stonehenge on the Hill. This slide was showing which decade were you born? And I noticed I fell into the blue color, so I'm in the majority there between 1950 and 1959 at 47%, but. And then the survey question was, what the questions were, please provide your ideas and priorities for the City of Tarpon Springs fiscal year 26 budget. And then I won't go through and read all these.
There's a lot of detail there.
Yeah.
But
But
I went through, I was at a conference last week, I had some time, not that the speaker was boring, but I saw that I think the majority was stormwater, flooding,
infrastructure,
infrastructure, there might have been some streets, and I think those were the top ones, and I think Connect Distant was another one.
Yeah.
I know stormwater, flooding, and infrastructure were the most mentioned.
yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of detail here. But my read, it looks like that's kind of the focus too, the infrastructure. And you don't have any specific like action items from this or focus areas. It's just something you're still kind of reviewing, right?
Well, I think it's still reviewing, but also linking in with the CIP we're working on.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then the last slide is tell us your relationship to Tarpon, and green was I live in Tarpon, yellow was I work in Tarpon, purple is I own a business in Tarpon, and 17, I own property in Tarpon, but the largest one was the green, 23, I live in Tarpon Springs. And that was the end of the budget public survey.
Any questions or comments on that?
No, maybe just high level. So the CIP, I think, covers most of these. The CIP, right, it has the infrastructure projects, has the stormwater, right? If I from my memory, maybe just remind me. It kind of covers most of those major themes, right?
The stormwater, the streets, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, I'm sorry I didn't get this handout to you, and they were trying to get this on here, but I worked on this morning because city manager and myself and Scott and Sherry met with the city manager yesterday going over the CIP. So I just put this together, and like I say, they were trying to load it on here, but they were having problems, so I put the handouts on your desk here just to try to, just some interesting things on the capital improvement projects. Stormwater action plan project, that you say is the big item in the public survey.
Yep.
So far, we've got 1.9 million in the fiscal year 26 budget for stormwater action plan projects. And over the 5-year budget, we've got $6 million worth. And if you compare it to the previous year, the far right column, we were only able to spend about 400,000, might have been 500,000 a year from the stormwater fund was all we had.
Because wasn't there a large project that was taking up most of the,
We've had the Pent Gross right over
right,
here.
that's been ongoing and
that's-
eating up most of the, okay.
uh,
But that's, should be done soon-ish, right? So then it'll.
Yeah,
we'll have
I
more-
think they're thought it was going to be done this summer, but I'm not sure if it's pushing back into this fall or winter.
Okay.
So just trying to show between stormwater, what we're looking at now and comparing it to previous year, you know, and then street projects, we've got 664,000 in the 26 budget, about 2.2 million over the 5 years. But in previous years, we had $150,000 a year budgeted for street projects. It usually wasn't enough because sometimes they go, we want to do more streets, so I'd have to find money to dig up maybe it was $200,000 worth of streets. And sidewalk projects is now 400,000 for the 5 years. That's a 1.6 million, but we used to do 200,000, but that's mostly due to the charter revision where we're able to transfer 400,000 from the sidewalk improvement fund to cover these projects. The Parks and Recs projects, we have some in here, a couple smaller ones, but what they're doing right now is they're currently working on a park and recreation master plan with a consultant, and they want to come back with the projects, then that would be a part of CIP. Water and sewer projects, we're still working on that as part of the revenue sufficiency study, rate study that's going on. We have 2 rate studies going on. We have one for stormwater, revenue sufficiency study, rate study, and also water and sewer study.
And remind me, the financing you're looking into was like a public issuance, or what were you, what financing, what financing structures were you looking at?
Well, there's the 2. You can either do a bond issue, which is a public offering, but they're leaning more towards the bank note.
The bank note, okay,
We
because
can-
it's a little bit cheaper, or just?
Oh, it's cheaper. I mean, for a bank note, it might be $50,000 worth of issuance costs. You start going public offering and with
Right.
underwriters, you're looking at maybe,
You showed
depends
us
on the
that
dollar
slide a
amount, might be
couple-
400,000.
That's right.
And it takes longer to get the money. And if you're starting to go over 10 years, you got to go out to the voters. So you'd have to go out to the voters in March of 2026. Our financial advisor says about 6 months from there. You might not see the money until September of 2026 if we try to do a bond issue.
Yeah,
So now they're looking toward keeping back to the bank note at 10 years.
yeah.
And on the next slide, the projects we're talking about is the Fire Station 70 construction, $6 million. Craig Park seawall construction, $1.6 million. Stormwater action plan projects, $3.5 million. Golf course clubhouse, $4.2 million. And Beckett Bridge Utilities is still hanging out there. Latest we heard is that the county would start construction about a year from now, June of 2026. But talking to Bob, we've got to do our utility work before they can do their construction. We've got to move our water and sewer lines. So Bob was thinking, well, we should have the money in place by January, February of 2026 to have the money ready so they can, if they don't get the grant, which they've struck out twice already, the county has, the 3rd time they might not get the money. So we're being ready to go ahead and have the funding ready, go out to bid, get the contractor, move the water and sewer lines.
And does it take, yeah, that's a lot of coordination. That's a lot of coordination. That's great. That's a big project.
And I try to explain below, I put little letters there next to the dollar amounts of the project. Like letter A means for the general government funds, mostly the penny fund. By financing those 2 projects, it's freeing up money in the penny fund so we can do more stormwater projects, more street projects, or anything else that comes up. And there's also, I call other projects hovering out there, like the Bayou dredging, which they've estimated between $3, $5, $7 million. They're still not sure. There's also Craig Park Phase 2 construction. Phase 1 we've got in the budget, but Phase 2 is going, if you're going down to the right side where all the, I think, homeowners have their docks and stuff. So we're not sure how much that cost of that would be coming to. So that's by doing the fire station in Craig Park financing, it's helping to free up some money in the penny fund. I used to say in the penny fund, I sort of lived on edge every year because we only had like a couple $100,000 left. We only did projects we could do, and then everything just got pushed out, which sometimes isn't the best because you push out these projects, they're going to cost more to do in the long run. But
Yeah.
the stormwater action plan, as I mentioned, we're working on a stormwater revenue sufficiency study. But in looking at it, if we're able to finance some of these projects at $3.5 million, instead of what it comes to when you do these revenue sufficiency rate studies, we give them all our finances, we give them all our CIP projects for the next 10 years, they project everything out, and basically it comes back down to say, what rates do you need to be able to accomplish all these projects? So if we do financing of the $3.5 million for stormwater, we're looking at probably a $2 per month increase to the residents. If we don't have the financing, the rate increase could be $4 to be able to cover those $3.5 million of capital projects. We're still working on it, though. It's still work in progress for both rate studies. And the golf course clubhouse, it's still really solid financially. It's just amazing to me that the fund balance goes up about $600,000 each year, $600,000. I'm projecting at the end of this fiscal year, the balance will be $1.4 million. So knock on wood, there's still, just last year, I think the revenues we used about 2.3 million, expenses 1.7 million. So there's, like I say, about 600,000, been between 500,000 and 600,000 a year that it's increased. It was back in 2021, the fund balance was 1.1 million negative. So it's just a $600,000 increase each year. So they're doing a good job out there. And then the utility, the Beckett Bridge, the last one is just the Beckett Bridge utility line relocation. And then I had one more slide on page on here, but I just wanted to mention that we went before the board Tuesday night about approving VACCON trucks. But what we're doing is we're getting to set up a master lease for equipment. And VACCON trucks will be the first one. It sets up Bank of America as our lender. We went to them. We've got a rate for 5 years at 3.47% for the VACCON trucks. And also on Tuesday night, I was talking to CIP and financing. The board approved the city to go for the financing so we could go out to bid for it. For the bank note, we got to go out for bid. So they approved us, the city, go out for financing for the CIP projects mentioned on the previous page.
How much in total are you going for? The full 19.3?
Yes.
Okay.
Some would be backed by the general governmental funds. The other stormwater would be backed by that fund. Golf course fund would be funded by the golf course fund, and the water and sewer fund, of course, come out of the water and sewer fund. So with that, I think, I don't know if there's any other questions on CIP or financing or.
Questions or comments?
And I asked
Go ahead.
one. I can't remember the other one. Oh, so I apologize that I'm new and I don't know this stuff, but what does this board, are you going to present something to the, at the workshop about what we have to say, or I don't know how that works?
Well, usually somebody from the board at times has been there at the first budget workshops, July 15th. Sometimes
Are
it might
people
be
allowed
somebody
to
that.
go to that?
Pardon me?
Are people allowed to go to that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the past,
There's no comment.
Yeah,
No
public
comments, but you can listen.
well, usually they might call them down there to say, okay, if you want to mention, say, you maybe say we support keeping the millage rate at 5.37 or something like that.
Usually we do that. The millage rate will usually make a recommendation to
Mm-hmm.
increase, decrease, stay the same or whatever. Or in the past, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, there was a lot of positions that were up for consideration and we gave our recommendations on approve these, don't approve those.
And also increasing the,
The reserve?
yeah,
The what?
The reserve balance.
Okay.
yeah.
To set
Oh,
aside,
did you
a
say
line
that? Yeah.
item set aside to increase, to set aside money to go into the reserve every year. So those kind of recommendations.
Yeah, because you act as an advisory board, for the Board of Commissioners. So that's what you're looking to you all for
I was
advice.
just wondering how our message gets to them.
Yeah. In previous years, somebody would be there, they would call you up, or I can't remember if she's not here anymore. She was at the last meeting last year.
Christy Howard.
Yeah, because I was out of town at the
Yeah.
time, so I couldn't be at the
So
meeting.
she came down, and there was a couple items that she presented to the
Do we
board.
have anything that we need to formally present at that budget meeting?
Unless you wanted to concur that, keeping the millage rate the same at the 5.37, they will be voting on that in July, which it's got to go to the state. We tell the state in July, we're required to say our proposed millage is going to be 5.37. Once we state that, we cannot go any higher than that per state statutes.
Yeah, we historically have done that. So I think if they're voting on that in July, we should probably go ahead and do that.
It's either that, I don't know if, there's other things there, a pay study, financing CIP projects, whatever your thoughts
Those
are.
are still works in progress, though.
Yeah, we're still going to be meeting individually with the board members.
There's nothing concrete for us to put our stamp of approval
Yeah.
on at this stage. So yes, I think we should make that motion on maintaining
So I make a motion that we advise the Board of Commissioners to keep the millage rate at the current rate.
any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 So on that item you brought up about the commission salary and the mayor salary, Irene, I texted Irene, she didn't see anything in the charter. So that can be one of the recommendations that you bring forth,
Yeah.
too, because you did make that motion.
Yeah, we made that motion at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Did we make the motion that it waits till the next year or just the increase?
October 1.
October
We-
1.
We had, it was effective of October 1.
Oh, it's effective October. Oh, is that 4 months from now? Okay.
But the board would still vote on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's just a
because they're all
recommendation
saying
from
they,
us.
they don't necessarily want it for themselves. They wanted it to encourage people to run for those positions.
We were sort of asked to look at it, and that's our recommendation.
I will type those up for your review, and
Okay.
then if you have any more before the next BOC
That
work
means that
session.
first budget meeting's before our next meeting would be here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, get those
Okay.
typed up, and I'll go to the first budget meeting.
Which is what, July, what was,
15th.
July?
Do we know when and where?
It's always in City Hall.
Downstairs in
Yeah.
City
What,
Hall,
like 6:30 or something? Yeah,
6:30.
Oh, 6:30.
I think it's a Tuesday.
Always on Tuesday.
Anything else under new business? Any public comments? Board and staff comments?
Have none.
Next meeting date?
I have,
Technically, it's July 17th,
it is,
but I'll be out of town at a conference.
okay.
Be out of
So any thoughts on when we should, or should we, is there going to be a need to meet before the August date?
You need, I would just wonder, would the August date be better as far as we would have the thing more wrapped up?
I would think that would be more appropriate, yeah.
I mean,
I'll go to the first budget meeting on the 15th, and then we'll have our regular August meeting,
okay, and that's August 21st.
okay?
If you hear of anything or anything comes up, we can also, call a special meeting at any time and make sure we have a quorum.
Okay. Any future agenda items? Specific future agenda items? Seeing none, we'll adjourn at 2:42.